Welcome back. Hey, Scott's Reviews. Like, subscribe down below, all that jazz. We are talking about what's going to be happening to me over the next couple days. Headed back down to Disney. My daughter's dancing on Main Street, so it's going to be camera central for me to try to get the shots. Coming down Main Street, all the dancing. Do I do photos? Do I do video? What camera do I bring? What lenses do I bring? So I'm going to go with a little bit of that. I'm not going to go too much into detail of everything. But I kind of also wanted to give you an update on the ZV-E1. I've been using it for a while. It's probably the more complicated camera that I've ever owned, getting used to different features, that kind of thing. So I kind of want to update you on a couple of things I found out on that. So let's get into it. First off, let's talk about the ZV-E1, and let's talk about the 11mm 1.8 crop. That's actually packed away right now. Everything is packed up for the trip tomorrow, leaving tomorrow morning. There are several different ways you can crop. First off, which you should automatically do, especially if you use that, is to take full advantage of the dynamic stabilization and go ahead and turn that on. That will then kill most of the vignetting around the corners. And then what I'm finding out when I do 4K 24 frames per second, and if I move around too much, I still get some of the warping on the side. But if I go 4K 60, it seems to eliminate that a little bit. So 4K 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, it tends to get rid of that warping on the side on the 11mm. That's good. Also, what you can do is, if you want even more in the crop in, is to do HD instead of 4K. If you do HD instead of 4K, you can then use the crop sensor mode within the ZV-E1, and will allow you to crop into that. And then you can add dynamic stabilization on the top of that, which I don't know the exact math of it, but it looks like a 35 mil, from 11 mil to a 35 mil. So you're really jumping the bandwidth there to really crop into that sensor. But I will be using that lens down in Florida for close-up shots, hotel room stuff, all that stuff where it's all tight and you need to get that wide angle look. I will be giving it more of a go there and kind of report back to you guys. One of the cons off the bat with the 11mm lens on the ZV-E1 is for photography. When you crop into that sensor, same with the A7 III, right? You use a crop sensor lens, you're already cropping into that 12 megabyte photo kind of thing. So you do lose image quality right off the bat. So if that's something you're really taking photos with this camera, should I get the crop sensor lens and you want to take photos? I say no. If you're planning to take a lot of photos with the ZV-E1, I would avoid the crop sensor. Let's talk about user LUTs. This is where it gets a little more complicated for me with the ZV-E1 and the built-in user LUTs you want to add to your camera. So those go into the picture profile area. Same with you picture profile 11, 10, whatever you use for your picture profile, maybe none, but that goes down at the bottom of the list for your picture profile. So the user LUT that you should be putting in there should be an S-log correction type of LUT. That's what I'm finding out. If it's different for you, let me know. I put some HLG LUTs in there and it's not working out because it's an S-log log file, not an HLG file. I'm not sure exactly when it's the best to use that. So if you put your user LUT in there, I have a Paul Leeming LUT, an S-log, and it shows you what it's gonna look like after it's done. But it's also baked in. That's the big thing. If you use the user LUT on the picture profile, your own LUT you installed in there, it's going to be baked into that image, which may not be a big deal for you because you're going to kind of maybe keep it the way it is right out of the box, or you can play with it a little bit on the exposure and you're done. That could maybe speed up your workflow. I tend to feel that if I'm going to go into post and edit that video and put a correct exposure, whatever, I can go ahead and just easily drag and drop the LUT right on there too, and then work that way. Or maybe this time I don't want to use the LUT, I want to use a different LUT. So I'm not sure that's the best way to handle your log file. I think what it's built for, what they're trying to do, is to help you get away from going from this to your camera to your phone, upload to social media. So if you can get the perfect LUT for you that you like every time, you can film an S-log with your user LUT, download it right to your phone and post it up to social media to avoid the whole third-party processing of it. That's what I think Sony is trying to accomplish with that. So if you're going to film with the S-Log and you're going to go do in Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve, whatever you use, I would say just go ahead and use Picture Profile 11, the standard S-Log, and then from there in post, fix it. A couple of the other AI features I played around with is center framing. Center framing is when basically you select the subject you want to keep in the center of the frame. So if it's yourself and you're vlogging, basically you just tap yourself when you get it going, it will put a box around you. And then when you move around with your vlog, it will try to keep your head in the center of that frame. It also punches into the image again. So if you want to go with the crop sensor lens, like the 11mm, you can turn on dynamic stabilization and then center framing, and that will punch in a little bit more and keep that vignetting in control. And then also to keep you in the center of the frame. So I'm gonna try that when I get down to Disney and with a little vlogging and see what that looks like. I just wanna make sure there's not too much warping going on, because I did notice some warping with your head and everything else with auto framing. So this is auto framing on the ZV-E1. Move around a little bit. It will try to keep me in the frame. I did notice if I try auto framing when you're walking around, not so good. It will make your head kind of warp. I would avoid that. So if you're going to use any type of this AI features for vlogging, I would suggest center framing versus auto framing, which is it doing now. So it's cropping in. I have it on medium, I think medium crop. So look it closer to the camera, we'll crop in and then back off for me. So we'll try this for the rest of the video and see how it goes. So the plan for Disney is to bring both of these cameras, the A7 IV and the ZV-E1. This will be my photography camera and that will be my video camera. How I'm going to manage that, I'm not sure yet. So as they walk down Main Street, they did this about 5 years ago. And back then I used the A7 III with the 70-200 lens. Now I'm not going to bring that lens because it's just too big for the bag. I got a couple shots with it. I can probably go ahead and use something like this. This is a Tamron 28-75. We'll go out to 75 and we'll get what we can get. And then in post, we can crop in. It's got a bigger sensor in here. So hopefully when I crop in, it doesn't look too bad. That would save me a lot of space in my bag by not taking that big 70-200 lens. That's where I am right now with the ZV-E1. If you have questions about this camera, things you want me to test while I'm down there, I know one thing I need to test is when you crop into that image, does it reduce the quality of it? You guys let me know if this is correct or not. So if I take the 11mm crop sensor, dynamic stabilization, jumped in, right? So we're all cropped in. Take the video. All right, do the same thing with the 20mm full frame lens, crop in. We'll look at both of them side by side. Now this might be a little bit a wider shot, of course, but do we have image difference? Is there a difference in quality of image from the full frame lens to the crop sensor lens? And the main question, this is for me, is low light, right? Am I losing anything from the crop when I have in a full frame? That's one of the things I want to test out while I'm down there. I figured it's more fun to test it there than to test it out here. Better background, that kind of thing. But anyway, for all my new subscribers out there that recently joined up, thanks for subscribing. I hope to not disappoint. Again, if you got questions, things you want me to test with the A7 IV, the ZV-E1, the lenses I'm going to bring down are the 11mm again. I'm at 20mm, 1.8. I have the 55 Zeiss, and then the Tamron 28-75 lens. I was trying to get the power zoom lens, the 16-35 from B&H. I found one used for like $838. It was rated an 8, which is pretty much their lowest rating. So the lens came in. I was so excited. It came in pretty quick yesterday, right before my trip. Didn't have to wait for the holiday and miss out on the opportunity to get it in my bag. And I opened it up and it was the wrong lens. They sent me the 16-35 f4 Zeiss lens, the heavy one, the older one. And the used department thought this was the power zoom lens and labeled it that way, but that was not correct. I'm trying to see if B&H will send me a replacement or an exchange with one of the other used ones they have for sale. But I think I'm running into the problem where those are a higher level, so they're rated like a 10 versus an 8. They're not willing to give up a better quality used product and exchange it out. They just want to basically refund me and be done. We'll see how that shakes out. If they change their mind and try to send me an exchange that closest matches to the one I tried to buy. But it's a little disappointing when you buy something and hopefully you get it right before your trip to go out and it doesn't work out. They send you the wrong one. So you have to basically box it up, pack it up, run back to the store, drive it back off to FedEx and send it back to them. And they're like, thanks for trying. But all right, that's it. You guys have a good day. Have a good 4th of July.